Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Residency Experts walkthrough of our Solution 1 package, which includes the ERS application. So once you create an account, this is what your dashboard is going to look like. You can see the programs or the applications you're working on. I'm going to show you what it looks like when you're about to start a program. So in this case, we're going to be going through the ERS application only. We're going to select More, and then you would select Apply. But since I've already started one to run through with you guys today, we're just going to select See My Application. From here, you will see the dashboard of all of the things that you need to get done in order to submit your application and begin your ERS review and editing process. So to begin, we're going to go through the rules and instructions. This is optional, but I would recommend going through it as it does have some tips on what to know when you're starting your My ERS application. This year has been a lot of changes to the 2024 My ERS application, and we've made sure that we've adjusted our application for all of these changes this year and are doing our best to provide the tips to advise those who use our application service. You want to make sure that you're honest in each section that you answer, because it doesn't look good if something comes out in an interview or it comes out that you were embellishing or lying about something later. You won't be seen as a good residency candidate. So just be completely honest. Answer every section that applies to you, complete and detailed as possible. So you want to add as much detail as you can. There are character limits in the ERS application. We're not enforcing them here because we want you to add those details, and this way your residency expert will work with the details that you provide. Make sure that you use all of our expert instructions, our prompt questions, and our tips before you finish each section. These were designed to help you through the written section of the My ERS application. Remember to use only your words when drafting your answers. Try to avoid sounding perfect. You want it to be personal. You want it to be real. You want it to come from you. The My ERS application has the character limits. As I said, we are not going to enforce those. And once you've submitted your ERS application, make sure that you keep checking your email because we might contact you with further questions, and you'll also get updates on how your application is doing. This you would select I understand, which I already did, and then you can move on to the next section, which is the My ERS application. And we are going to go back a bit. So this is the beginning of the My ERS application. So step 1 is going to be your contact and profile. For me, I'm here. I put in a dummy account, my first name, my last name, my email, my phone number. These are just text boxes you're going to put in. Just so you know, your email should be professional. Avoid trying to have any silly ones that you used when you were in high school or anything that just doesn't sound like they could immediately identify you. And then you're also going to want a phone number. You want it to be US based. You don't want to have the issues of if they're trying to contact you and it's not coming through. So get yourself a Google number if needed. Sometimes you can use also Skype. There are ways if you need to look into that. Then you're going to answer these questions. Are you an international medical graduate? Yes or no. Are you looking for visa sponsorship? Yes or no. If you answer yes, then it's going to ask you what type of visa sponsorship you're looking for. And so here, then it's going to ask you, do you have any U.S. clinical experience? Yes or no. There is no drop down for these. Your time since graduation, this is a drop down. You're going to select one. Here you have your step scores. You can say your pass fail, step 2. Was this your first attempt? Yes or no. If it wasn't, if you had to redo, then you're just not going to check this box. Then you'll have step 2, CS, did you pass? Is it your first attempt? Here is a new section. So this is going to be the geographic preferences. This is an important section now because it is coming out that it does help you stand out to programs if you flagged their area as a geographic preference. So we encourage you to actually answer this. You can, this is optional, but if you don't answer this, it will just display no information. So it might look like you didn't complete the application. We would advise you to answer it even if you have no preference. And then if you do have a preference, you want to make sure that it's coming from your own strong personal view, that there's a reason for it, and it's something that you're probably going to be asked about in your interview. So you just want to make sure it's your own reason and it's a valid one. Here you'll ask if you do have geographic preferences or you do not. If you do, you'll select your U.S. Census division that you'd like, and then you're going to give yourself a reasoning on why you like that area and why you'd want to go there. If you do not have any preferences, then you'll select this and you'll say, you don't have any preferences. I am happy wherever I'm placed. Obviously, you're going to make it sound more professional than that, but that's essentially what you are doing with this section. If you have to add more, it is up to 3 experience descriptions. I mean, you have 3 preference areas that you are able to flag. So you can add in another one down here if you'd like. Next, we are going to go to setting preferences. So this is important to keep in mind when you're doing geographic preferences and also when you're doing program signaling at the end of this application. All of these things are going to tie together. So if you're program signaling somewhere that is in a rural area in a certain part of the geography of the world, then maybe you should flag that as for your geographic preference and then flag your setting preference as well. Setting preferences, you're only going to have one decision. It's not like you're picking more than one because you can do rural, rural or suburban, suburban, suburban or urban, urban or no preference. Here you're going to say what's your reasoning, why you have that preference, or maybe why you don't have that preference. Next, this is the membership and awards. This is pretty self-explanatory. This is where you're going to add in any membership or awards that you've had. What was the name of the honor or professional society? Did you hold any leadership roles? When was this? From down here, medical school awards, similar. Why did you receive this award? What was the name? When did you receive it? And any other awards or accomplishments that you think are important to share. Now we're going to head to one of the more big changes of the MyEris application, and this is the selected experiences section. Before you were able to add in as many experiences as you'd like. Now you can only do up to 10. So you want to be careful about which ones you're choosing, what information you're sharing, and you're going to think about what qualities and skills that you already highlighted in your personal statement and letters of recommendation. You want to tie all of your application together. So if you already talked about being a strong leader or you're getting letters of recommendation that talk about you being a great communicator, maybe you want to try and reinforce that here in this experience section. So we're going to come down here. You'll fill out your organization name. These are all type forms. You're going to do the experience type. So there's work, research, volunteer, service/advocacy, education/training, military service, other extracurricular activity, club, or hobby. So it's important to note here that they have eliminated the hobby section from the MyEris application. So here's now where you're going to be adding in hobbies. We do recommend that you only add in hobbies that you were like dedicated to and you had some type of role with so you can show what type of skills you've done. I wouldn't really add in just cooking. Maybe if you were hosting a cooking class, something like that, or a cooking group. Professional organization and teaching/mentoring. So for clinical experience, you're usually going to say work. That's what I put this as. You fill out your start date, your end date, where this was located, and your participation frequency. This is new as well. So now you're going to say, did you one time, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, or annually? And you want to make sure that you're not over embellishing on this because that will come back to haunt you. And you want to make sure that whatever description you give, if you only did this one time and then you try to give it a really long description that you've learned so much from it, that's not going to make a lot of sense. So you want to make sure that your description really fits in the amount of time that you've done with this. Then you're going to say your setting. Is it rural, rural and suburban, suburban, suburban and urban, or urban? That may sound weird, but sometimes You may be in an area that's a bit rural, but there are a lot of houses nearby. There is a bit more of a suburban area to it as well. So you're going to go by what you would feel is your most setting that you would think of. Primary focus area. So this is also new. The primary focus area and the key characteristics are two new things that you need to tag when you enter an experience. This is like, you're going to be thinking about, what did I do in this experience? Like, where was my focus area at? Was it clinical translational science? Was I really thinking about public health? Was I promoting wellness? Was it medical education? So these are all things that you have to keep in mind as you're filling out this application. Then you're going to do your key characteristics. Again, this may seem confusing because you might be thinking, oh, well, my experience falls under more than one of these characteristics. Here you can also consider, what are they going to be saying in your letter of recommendation? Is there a way that you can tie that together? How are you presenting yourself in the rest of your application? Can you use this to tie in another skill or reinforce that you have a skill very strongly? And then you will follow on to contacts, roles, and responsibilities. We're going to talk a little bit here about what exactly were you doing, and you want to make sure this is an active role. You don't want to talk about what you saw other people doing. You want to talk about what exactly you did, what you performed, what skills you learned, and what was the result of your contributions. Like, how did this experience end up resulting to your growth? And a new part of the ERAS application now is that you are going to take 3 of your 10 experiences that you share. So you'll label 3 of them as a meaningful experience. Here we've asked, after you input it, if you want to add this one as one of your meaningful experiences, you're going to check this box. And here, this is where you're going to talk about why this experience was meaningful to you. Instead of just describing what you did in this, you're going to talk more about what you learned from it, how it helped you grow, how it influenced you, and how it shaped you as a doctor. And you also want to keep in mind now of the focus area or key characteristic that you tagged in the previous section, because they do want you to reference that here. If you have selected this as your meaningful experience, they want you to reference why you chose that key characteristic, why that was that focus area. And then if you want to add another experience, you'll click this and it will open another box for you. Now we're going to move on. This is the impactful experiences section. So this section is also new. For those of you who have participated in the match before, and maybe if you did the supplemental ERAS last year, you'll recognize this, but this is optional, just to be clear. Not everybody needs to fill out this section. This is just for those that feel like you encountered some major obstacles on your road to residency that you had to overcome, and that you really feel like it shaped you as a person or a doctor. Now, this is really important to note that if you've already written your personal statement or you're going to write your personal statement after you do this, do not share the same experiences in your personal statement that you share in your impactful experience description. They do not want to be rereading the same thing. They want to make sure that all of your space is used in a good way. If you don't have an impactful experience that you really feel like needs to be shared, don't use this section. Don't try and just make something up and make it sound more dramatic or that you had to overcome more. This is really for those that had something that a hardship they really had to go through on their road to residency. And we want to be said here, keep in mind, like, we're not giving you character limits here, but it is going to be 750. So you just want to make sure you're to the point a bit. Give us as much detail, but try not to do an entire journal. And then this is the last section. This is miscellaneous. So this is where they're going to be asking you some questions that if you answer yes, then there's typically going to be a drop down. And you want to keep your answer honest and unemotional. You just want to answer the question of why, like what exactly is going on. So Was your medical school training ever interrupted? And if that's the case, just be to the point. What happened? Why did you have to do it? And how did you overcome that now? Like, how have you learned from it and you're ready for residency now? Here, you'll ask, was your medical license ever suspended, revoked, voluntarily terminated? If you answer no, there's nothing. If you answer yes, there's going to be a drop down. You still want to focus on why you're still a good candidate. None of these things mean that you are completely out of the running, but you want to highlight your strengths. And this is going to be the same for all of these. If you answer yes to any of these, you are going to have to fill out a drop-down box and just explain why this happened, but make sure to highlight on how you've overcome and why you're still a good candidate. Then you're going to mark this as complete. And here we go. You can go through. We can see all of the work done. You can review it. This is everything that we've put in. This is everything that's going to go to the editor. Now, if you want to upload your photograph, you can. This is where you'll upload your ears photograph, and we will give you more details on that. If it's acceptable, if we think that you should do something else with it. Yes. So thank you so much to those of you who are going to be helping us out with this. This is a good walkthrough. If you have any more questions, please reach out to me, and I'm more than happy to help you with it.